Hey, everybody, I'm Jody-Vance.
And I'm George-Affleck.
And to say we have a busy edition of the program today, in 30 minutes, we will try and cover in no particular order Trump always chickening out or taco, Elon Musk being bye bye. What's up with tariffs? The king was here in Canada. Bill 15, what is it? What does it mean? And what does George think about it? The new VPD chief, and even a lawsuit from the mayor's office. Today, it is called a very busy
UnSpun.
Wow.
That's funny. I love your taco. That's good. That's good. This is, this is Trump. So taco stands for
Trump always chickens out,
coming
which means
from
he
Wall
always
Street.
says, I'm going to put 150% tariffs on you, China, only to be like, actually 20.
It came from Wall Street, and then there was a Wall Street fairly influential. I forget. It's tweeted out and say the first rule about the taco: don't tell the president about the taco, because
Right?
that
It's like Fight Club.
reporter.
First rule of Fight Club is don't mention Fight Club. But seriously, though, that they're the Wall Street analysts
Uh-huh.
are looking at the markets that used to just like fluctuate like crazy every time Trump would say, oh my God, another tariff on another ally. And they fluctuate like mad, and they're not fluctuating as much. They still move around, but they're basically the market is getting used to this
Whatever.
chaos and being like, yeah, or we don't sell everything, or we don't freak out that this is happening. And then, of course, there was you saw the exchange in the Oval, right, where the
Yeah, the reporter. That's
yeah
that's where it that's yes, where she asked what it meant and he had no clue. And of
he's never
course,
heard of chickening out.
yeah, he didn't even understand it. And then obviously not happy. And I mean it was great. Like that reporter asking that. I love that. I mean
Yeah.
I mean we've talked a bit about this, but at some point you become a bit of a joke, really. I mean, you're already being laughed at internationally, and now your own country, at least a reporter, it's starting to happen. Because yeah, taco. I mean, and then the tariffs yesterday, the court rules that he can't even do this.
This
This,
is huge.
whether
This
this,
is huge.
it's going to go all the way to Supreme Court, who knows? But seriously, yeah, huge.
But Trump, where this all started with Canada, when we're all like, excuse me, it was under the emergency that we are in right now because of the fentanyl flooding over the Canadian border.
Hmm.
It's not. There's definitely fentanyl moving across the border, most of it coming this way from Mexico to US to Canada and then back and then over and back. Like it's a problem everywhere.
Yeah,
But to suggest that Canada needs to fix the fentanyl problem in the United States is wildly lacking in substance when it comes to facts. But the president of the United States, as I understand it, used this
hmm,
and continues to use this like 1792 law. Don't quote me on the year, but that old of a law that
hmm,
says when we're in an emergency, the president has the ultimate power to make these big,
yeah.
big changes and big moves. Where now a three-judge panel in New York that are like the Trade Commission are
And
like, you know
one's a
what,
Trumper, one's a Reagan, and
appointee,
one's a Obama appointees. So two Republicans.
two Republicans are like, you know what, I think he's overreaching. And
Hmm.
it's really interesting to watch. It is slow walking through the courts, so slowly making its way around what the founding fathers of the United States. Haven't we learned a lot about U.S.
Yeah, we
structure and
have. I mean, whether or not what happens, of course, because he's already done this, he doesn't comply. If it goes all the way to Supreme Court and he doesn't comply and he can't, I mean, on the he's already proven that with the immigration stuff.
right?
So, but I just think with the tariff thing, that's a bit complicated because you can't get your bullies to go. I guess you could get if you control the finance committee and you control these things and you can just push a button and say tariff. But then does he go to jail? Obviously, what
No, he's not going to go
happens?
to jail.
What
I don't. I
happens?
don't think.
I
I don't. I
know.
mean,
So what
who knows
happens?
here? But didn't you find it interesting in the Oval Office when he was like, sort of, that's a nasty question, and blaming the journalist for asking
Yeah.
the question that is actually a question about taco. About he's like, just
Hmm.
because I chicken out, he rattled off a bunch of stuff, and he accidentally, instead of tariff, said tax.
Did he?
And
Oh, I missed that.
I thought of you because, and that's starting to come into the conversation more and more when people are analyzing again. Jesus, write this down. George Affleck is right again. Seriously, though.
We'll have one issue today where I was wrong, but we'll get to that.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, we have to have balance. We got to have balance.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll keep our eye on the taco. The Trump always chickens out of, I'm going to do this and then I don't. You know, he's trying to do the sparkly thing. He's flooding the zone, right?
That's his art of negotiation.
That's what he says.
Taco.
What about Elon Musk? Because Elon Musk criticized the big, beautiful bill and said it adds to the deficit, which of course it does. I mean, by trillions and trillions of dollars. Elon Musk said that. And then the next day they're like, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
He's leaving government.
That's firing number 2 now, right? For Trump. Yeah, he got rid of the guy who accidentally added the on the street. Yeah, Waltz, got rid of him. Now he's got rid of Elon.
Signal gate guy.
This is just like 2016 all over again. I mean, eventually, you know, people leave and then they start saying how much they hate Trump, and it's like they write a book. It's like, oh my God. But
Elon Musk doesn't need to write a book. He can actually turn the machine, right? He can turn the social media machine. He can use all of what, to have these two egomaniacs at odds is going to be a fascinating thing to watch.
Maybe he'll come back to X. I mean, Twitter. Oh, you are in there, but you know, maybe all those people who went to Blue Sky will come back so we can get some better perspective. Please, CBC, get your ass in gear and come back to X. Don't just avoid it. It's so annoying that our, you know, a national media is not on this platform. How do we have it? I don't care if it's a bunch of right-wing people, but if all the left wing leaves them to talk, or just have a conversation. If you're not there, then you don't exist.
But what I would suggest, well, no, I think you're right. Again, Jesus, I'm going to need to put some booze in my coffee. I think you're right in that they should be on that platform. And I appreciate those who are on the platform, like Adam Kinzinger, Heather Cox Richardson. These are some people who are lightning rods for the far right to come and attack them. But you notice they turn off their comments. You know what? Be on there, say the thing. I don't have to have comments on. I do have my comments on, and I, have largely had my DMs open. I closed those because it started to get just gross. Like it was just bots being sexual.
Yeah, it's out of control.
Okay,
no. I never looked.
But I think you're right in that you got to be there so other people on that platform who see the messaging that is rooted in fact and double checked and is at a standard that some other outlets don't use that filter of actual authentic fact-based standards, and that the rest of us would be able to go, that one, I'm going to retweet that. I'm going to retweet that. I'm going to I go through my Twitter, and then when people and the bots come and just like block. I don't care. I block them. But they come for me in a different way than they come for you, which discussed.
I get marketing ones and political ones in mine. So
right.
Kind of interesting mix.
You get more local people that are pissed off at you.
Yes.
They're like, ever the racist, George. And you're like, what?
Or when are you running for mayor? I get that one too a lot.
I keep asking you that. I'll stop. Okay. Well, do we talk before we come to BC? Do we want to talk anything more tariff-wise about the U.S.?
No, I mean, I think it's just, we're over 100 days into this administration, and I don't know. It's just been chaos, and now we're getting to this. The new normal is chaos, so therefore that's normal. I mean, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's a dumb way to run. It's a dumb way to run a business. It's a dumb way to run a country. And I feel the same way about Vancouver, that it just seems the same kind of ad hoc, chaotic craziness.
Yeah, there's dumb and hardworking, and there's dumb and lazy. And interestingly enough, dumb and lazy is less dangerous as dumb and hardworking. So every time I see Trump on a golf course, I'm like, great. Because he's supposed to get the daily security briefing, right? That only the president gets, the presidential daily briefing. I very much suggest that people watch and or subscribe to S.E. Cupp's Substack. She's very, very good. She is a longtime staunch Republican, very well educated. I think I mentioned her last week.
Yeah, is it a free one or is it paid?
It's free, but there is a paid element. Like it's one of those things. Like you could pay for it. I've got a couple like Judd Legum's Substack is one that I
Sam
go to. Jim Acosta
Vancouver.
is, I think, a really important voice. There are a couple. Heather Cox Richardson. I
Mm,
listen to her reading her daily thing that she does. Um, I digress though. But Essie had a column, and I'll this kind of puts a pin in it for we're talking about the U.S. She put out a Substack this last week because she's interviewed the U.S. president numerous times and has written about him tons and has followed along. And as a former Republican, she kind of calls herself a reformed Republican. She's a never Trumper now and is unapologetic about that. But she wrote a Substack that basically says Trump will forever try and get the one thing he will never get, and that is the respect of people in the world. Right?
mm,
He can disrupt them, he can piss them off, he can throw it off, he can make markets all screwed up, but no, there are not, there's never going to be a time where across the globe, world leaders are like,
yeah.
great guy, including King Charles, which takes us into our, because that's the one thing that
Well,
Trump was
yeah.
like, I love this king.
There's a rumor though. Oh, not a rumor. Actually, Amanda said this, and I was like, "What?" So they've invited King Charles to
Yeah.
Trump to whatever Sandringham or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
which is outside of the other invite to the invite, which takes years. But apparently, King Charles and Queen Camilla
Camilla.
love.
Yeah.
I think Trump is hilarious in a fun way. Like it's sort of like the way Bill Maher went on about how you be with this guy, and he's interesting and he's funny and he's completely not like you experience in the media. And and Bill, I'm like, is Bill Maher trying to get an interview with this guy? Actually, I was watching this thing with David Frost on CNN, and it was a whole conversation about Nixon and he went to visit Nixon, and it was similar to Bill Maher. He was talking about, oh, I met Nixon. It's a completely different kind of thing. And for those who remember, David Frost was a big journalist from England in the 70s, and
Oh, yeah.
Nixon, and he managed to, so he became kind of friends with Nixon, even though Nixon kind of, as we heard from the tapes years later, hated Frost, but
Yeah.
and thought he was a hack and fake news. They didn't say those words, but basically. But then he got that a big interview with Nixon, right? The six
Right.
hours of whatever, and so you wonder if Bill Maher is trying to gun for the same thing to get a major one-on-one with Trump, because that would be very interesting. But
Right.
this
Building
King
the
Charles
trust.
thing is like,
Yeah.
so what's the game here? Obviously that and the visit to Canada. So on the one hand, you've got him but sucking up to Trump. On the other hand, you have him in this speech when he was in Ottawa, kind of little digs without saying Trump, but little digs that in the speech that was written by us. But he said it, so therefore he agreed with it.
And he
Uh,
also had a little bit of, pardon the pun, but free reign to inject his own.
yeah,
That was written by
yes,
us, but added with him. And I watched it all, unfold in the pomp and
yeah, me too.
circumstance and everything. And then immediately Trump's on Truth Social talking about this Golden Dome, which is like, okay. And $61 billion to Canada to be an unequal partner, or nothing if you're the 50, like, come, okay.
Hmm.
It's just
Yeah.
somebody is jealous. Somebody doesn't like it that everybody's got
Hmm.
their eyes on, Ottawa watching the king do his thing in Canada. And, I think Mark Carney and the Keir Starmer thing in the Oval Office where that all started. And you're invited to come to Sandringham and la
Yeah,
la 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 la. And
we were
then
mad.
Mark Carney's response to that was disappointing, which people
Hmm.
were pointing to say that's when King Charles decided we better go to Canada.
Yeah,
And I
100%.
didn't know that Mark Carney's brother is the chief operating officer of Buckingham Palace.
What a family. Are these two kids from Northwest Territories and then Northern Alberta? Like,
Northern Alberta, and also the fact that King Charles, His Majesty, definitely knows Mark Carney from when he
yeah.
was the governor of the Bank of England. Like this is
Yeah, they were
there.
having a good chit chat there
I
pre-speech.
love exactly. I love the fact that those guys. Sorry, that'd be so pedestrian, but those
Damn guys.
the prime minister and the king have this and are both very strategic when it comes to managing Donald Trump, because there's one thing Donald Trump loves more than anything, and that's flattery.
Yes. Yeah. It's painful to watch though, because you get just like, come on, kick his
I
ass.
know.
Kind of like the guy from
I know.
South Africa. It's like, screw it, I'm going all in on this. He's,
Yeah. That
but
was
what was the
so
deal with Trudeau's shoes, by the way? Can we what
I
his
found it,
Adidas?
I know, so distracting. Somebody put on Twitter, Somebody put on Twitter that Trudeau is forever, you know, the the person at the wedding who wishes they were the bride, the person at the baby shower wishing they were the mom, the person at the, pick your big event, and he wants to be the one being celebrated, and he cannot just be one of the crowd. He will always do something. Like even him standing there chatting with
Harper.
with Stephen Harper, right? And the whole
Mm.
time he's like, well, I mean, and this, and if you're
I don't know,
listening
he
and
looked
not
like me
watching,
when I
I'm
have
moving my
convers.
hands
He
around
looked
like
like me.
crazy.
He looked like
I'm a
me when I
huge
have
hand
conversation.
talker.
Me
I'm
too.
a terrible
That's why
hand talker.
when I do interviews with me, I always have to hold my hand like I hold my
Yeah.
fingers super super tight.
Yeah.
If you ever watch me on TV or stuff, you'll see me. I'm holding my hands like this because if I
Yeah.
let go, my hands are like. Wah!
I learned in my sports broadcasting days to just keep my hands low
Yeah,
because at first I had them up here, up in front of my face.
that's good. That's
Anyway,
good. That's good TV.
and then everybody making a big deal of his shoes. But interesting that that's the first time that we've really seen him since the federal election. And I mean,
Mhm.
that had to be at some level quite difficult for him to sit there
Yes,
and
let
take
go.
it. Like that's
Yeah.
a shot to a guy because we know that man has an ego. I mean, obviously,
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not working harder to get his appointments, like really cool appointments, like at the UN or something.
he
You'd think
will
that
eventually. Don't you
not if
think?
he wears running shoes to the when the king's in town. That's not a
Oh,
good.
don't you
That's,
know going without a tie and hanging out
what are you,
is all
Ken
the
Sin?
rage. Oh my God. Hey, before we move on from the king and the prime minister, Carney, I was watching an old clip on social media. This is apropos of nothing, but it dawned on me that Sam Rockwood should play Mark Carney on SNL.
Sam Rockwell?
Rockwell, sorry, Rockwood.
Oh yeah.
Shit. Wouldn't that? Because he came
Mhm.
out on the
Yeah.
Fallon show, and they always do the quirky dance when he
Yeah.
comes on. They always dance around, and I'm like, he's very Carney-esque.
Comb his hair down a little bit and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
uh-huh. Yes,
Anyway,
that'd be
that's
interesting. No, it's
apropos
good. Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
Let's go to
Send
something.
that to Lauren Michaels. He'll get on
I will. Dear Lauren, what about Bill 15? So Bill 15 has passed in the BC legislature.
it. Hmm.
It was as close as it can get, right? Tied.
Yeah.
And then the tie broken by the Speaker of the House. Bill 15 is all about, in layperson's terms in the unspun world. We're not going to go deep into this, other than it is all about fast tracking major projects,
Yes.
period. Whether it's building homes, uh, hospitals,
Coal mines?
infrastructure, or mining, right? Or like
Yes. Yeah.
significant major projects. Like we're going to remove a bunch of red tape from this. And so, alarm bells from many. Your thoughts on Bill 15?
Well, a bit confused. So conservatives voted against it, I guess, because of some of their base, mostly probably related to local government and the housing file, which is quite controversial in Vancouver, especially right now. That things are getting fast-tracked in neighborhoods, and we can maybe get the kits thing that's maybe being canceled and all that stuff. But
What's
I
being
think
canceled? Oh,
what's
the eighth and Arbutus.
yeah, the
Yeah, yeah.
social whatever affordable whatever it was. Anyways, that's an aside. What's interesting is like the flip-flop of the NDP and how suddenly they've forgotten all about their environmental cares in the world, and have pushed this forward, which it would and also their relationship with First Nations, which they're the first ones to come out and say, "What the heck's going on? This is
Oh
goes against
yeah.
all of everything, reconciliation." So it's very interesting. But of course, I'm sitting there going, but we need to fast track this stuff. We're in a very important time right now. And in order to get this, we're the coastal province. We have a lot of resources. We need the cash. We need to get, NDP had been doing nothing for all these since 2017. So we got to get some stuff done. Great. So conservatives vote against it. I'm like, oh, what's happening? Because to me, this would be what I would see as pro-business, pro-commerce, free market economy. Let's get things going.
Yeah.
And so I find it disingenuous and 100% political to vote against it. In fact, if I was them, I would have voted for it and said, thank you for bringing in something that the conservatives would have brought in. I guess we should have just, people in BC should have just voted the conservatives because basically you have the conservatives now and just turn it on the NDP and say, basically, British Columbians, the NDP, who, if you were an NDP supporter, you should probably find a different party, especially if you're an environmentalist. Maybe you should think about the Green Party again, because your precious environmental party is letting you down. The party that's supposed to be for all the people, yada, yada, yada. progressive, this and that. Nope, they're not. So why not just vote for the real guys who are honest? And then they could have voted for the thing and said, great, good job, let's get going on this stuff. Instead, now they voted against it, which makes them look political. And of
It
course, the
does.
NDP will just say, well, you guys voted against this, so you don't want, you know, industry. You don't want the economy to prosper.
Right.
You
So
don't want,
you
you
no
don't
longer look
support.
like the platform that you've been putting forward for forever. It's like one of those, you stole my good idea. Like
Yes.
it's more of that where it's like,
Uh-huh.
I would love, okay, Pollyanna Rainbow Girl, here I'm putting on my unicorn. Um, I would love for you people to work together for Christ's sake. Like, how about we all work together? How about everybody gets in a room on taxpayer dollar salaries and comes up with the good ideas instead of just going in like, whatever you say, I'm going to say the opposite. I am the opposition. I get that you need to oppose the things that don't make sense for the taxpayer, that don't make sense for the citizen. But to just be contrarian all the time, which is where we're at, we've been here for a long, long time.
Mhm.
And it's just so it's so hard to motivate younger people to want to engage in government when they're like, obviously this is just a bunch of garbage, right?
Yeah.
Like this is just a bunch of people getting paid to fight. Like it's
Yeah, and having been in council,
you
where
know.
I have 50 motions that I put forward in my 7 years, and I would say zero of them passed in the way they were written. They were either changed or just voted down. Are you saying that all 50 of my motions were terrible? Well, according to the party that was in power for the time I was there, I guess so. However, it's interesting that I'm just going to jump to the Vancouver sign because it just brings up
Yeah,
something in my
go.
mind,
Yes.
which was voted for this week. But I don't know if you remember this thing called love locks.
Yes, I do.
Yes, there was a motion I put forward because all these
I
locks
love
getting
them.
put all over the city, and
Yeah.
I became like
Like Paris.
yes, and so that it was really damaging a lot of our property, and so I put a motion forward saying, that we have this idea to build a love lock somewhere in the city, a beautiful art sculpture that we could then people can go there and put their locks on and make that a destination thing. They didn't vote it down. They changed it to George-Affleck. The motion actually was written, Kerry Jang revised it, that George-Affleck will find a way to build the love locks in Vancouver. So, guess what I did?
You found it.
I went to John Cooper, who was at that point the chair of the park board. And I said, John, how can we do this? And so he
Yeah.
put a motion forward at park board, similar motion, but he said it's got to use existing funds, that no new money, no take the money that already has been appropriated for stuff that the park board could do. Imagine a
Right.
park board that's functional. What a world.
Oh, I remember
And
that.
within a year we had it built up at the top of Queen Elizabeth Park. I don't know if you've been up there. It's a beautiful little structure. It's covered in locks. People get married there. People have they get engaged there. There's a beautiful view of the city behind it. And
Yeah.
it didn't cost the taxpayers in effect an additional $1 million like this Vancouver sign, and it certainly doesn't cost $50,000 a year to operate. So, there are ways to do things in Vancouver and do good things. Not that I'm
Yeah.
tooting my own horn, take total credit to John Cooper on that one, because he took it through the park board and found the money within their existing budget. And it wasn't that expensive, but it's a great
And
little thing. And
that's
I think,
therein lies the rub, George. Like, why is this sign so expensive?
I don't know.
Why? Why?
And why
To
does it
what
have to be
end?
additional money and why and operating? We have the engineering department has a budget line item for like there's guys who are driving across Granville Street Bridge. There's always guys kind of when it's normal, kind of
Yeah.
painting and scrubbing and
Yeah.
cleaning. There's like three staff that are dedicated to doing that job there. So why can't they just make okay now also take care of the Vancouver sign, will you? Just
Right.
add it to their
Polish it up.
list. Like
Polish it up.
new
Go
money?
there
Like
and make sure
why?
the bird crap's not on there and that it lights up at
Yes.
night and that's it.
Yes.
And it
Or
doesn't get
like get some
vandalized.
volunteers to get some old guys like the train in Vancouver. Remember the old train that went to
Make
Granville
that
Island?
volunteer hours for kids in high school who need volunteer hours to get into their university.
Exactly.
Easy. Sign up. You're
Yep.
going down each school has this for one day a week.
Oh,
Like
fun.
get creative. Get
Yes.
creative. Get
Yes.
creative.
Yes. Anyways.
Um there's a new VPD chief. We were talking about that last week that there would be.
And so you
I
were
called
right
it.
on that
I
one.
was.
You called it. But it's funny because I texted you that night going, What? So who's the guy? Because I
Yeah.
couldn't find anything
Anything.
about it. And I don't know how you actually knew. And I'm going, well, who is it? It was nowhere to be. And that was what we talked about last week, really, was why are they doing this press conference at 5 o'clock? We assumed it was going to be
Buried.
the chief.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
And it was very effective in not getting out. Why?
I don't know the answer. I don't understand.
Well, it worked.
And everybody's very quiet about it.
It's
It's
very
it's
strange.
weird. I don't know. There's something weird there. Like
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, I'm trying to find the spin on this.
I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything from really Ken Sim either. Did he tweet about it or anything? I think he might have gone congratulations, but that was
Maybe, yeah.
like it just didn't.
No, it should
I
be a
don't
big
know. I
deal.
don't know. Let's stay on this because it feels weird. Like
Something,
I don't
something.
even know why weird, but it feels weird. And speaking of Ken Sim and the VPD, there's a new lawsuit
That might be
from the
why.
from the you know what?
It was the same
That might
week, but you know, I don't know.
So, but
Seems
this is, can you explain this one? Because a lot of people listening to this podcast, and we do have, you know, 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes to go in our 30-minute window here. So, can you explain what's
well, credit
happening?
to Kyla Lee, lawyer, who's a lawyer who has a TikTok and is on Twitter. But this was a TikTok that I saw, and I thought, oh yes, this is exactly how I feel about this. So if you're on TikTok and you don't follow Kyla, I recommend it. She's very interesting. She's always on NW. We've both interviewed her many times on NW. Um, her argument, it's
She's a
true.
specialist in impaired driving charges
Yeah, and she
and
has some
tickets and
good.
distracted driving related offenses.
That's right.
Yeah,
And so, and also talks, has opinions about things too. And so she
for
said,
sure. She's a lawyer.
yeah. So one of the things that I've, when you're in politics, you are on a different level of abuse taking, if that makes sense. You're not a normal citizen anymore. And so you
Right.
get rumors and innuendo are things you just have to accept. There were things about me that were probably like all sorts of weird things. There was the whole gay rumor of Gregor. It was ridiculous. Like these things are like, what,
I missed
how
that
and
one.
why? Oh yeah, it was forever. People would always ask me. I'm like, no, he's not. And who cares? Like,
Who
why? Who
cares?
cares? But this
But I never heard
rumor,
that. But then,
exactly.
whatever.
So
I
there,
wasn't here
well,
for most of
anyways, it
his.
was out there, and there was other things with me, like whatever. Uh, so you just kind of just go, whatever. I mean, it's there, and it's not like it's should take away. I mean, I guess Ken Sim felt like it was becoming an issue for him in the re-election, but now it's becoming even a bigger issue because likely this court case and this whole thing will continue to the next election. And
So
and one of
his former chief of
so yes,
staff,
for those who don't
right?
know, yes.
Former chief of staff for Mayor Ken Sim.
And a journalist in the city
It
report where he quoted,
put those air quotes up high on that one,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yes,
So,
yes,
but
a
there are
columnist.
allegations around there being a DUI um, cover up involving them. Like it's so like I don't know. It seems very over the top and outrageous. And I remember hearing the back rumors, as you said, like it came out during the election,
Right.
and then now all of a sudden the mayor's suing his former chief of
Yes.
staff for libel
And
for
Alan and Alex, I think, yeah.
and
So, yeah. And so there, of course, so there's the one argument, like the things I said, which is you're a politician, you just got to suck it up.
yeah,
Then there's also, okay, so now we're going to go to court, and now they're going to show a video of Ken Sim shotgunning a beer because,
right.
and then there's the issue of,
At Catalano Days, for those who aren't
yes,
getting that
yes.
reference, he shotgun a beer on stage at Catalano Days, and it was very controversial
Well, and I
for
was
some
like,
people.
there are things you don't do in politics. You don't do the drunk tank or drunk tank.
Dunk tank.
Dunk
That
tank.
was a
But
Freudian slip.
yeah,
That
that's
was
a
a
Freud.
Freudian slip.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. But hey, don't do the dunk tank because nobody needs to
no,
see a politician,
in a wet
especially if they
shirt.
don't have a six pack. And there were some of Gregor coming out of water. I remember when he was first elected, and there was like all these memes of him, and I was like, oh, for God's sake, okay, yeah, he's got a good body, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a great body, don't do the dunk tank,
Even if you
and
do, just don't.
don't do it.
Don't dunk.
Just give the cash. And then don't drink alcohol if you and don't
Right.
get a picture of you with alcohol. And I think I
You
brought this
told me
up.
that on our very first podcast or our
Yeah,
second ever
it's
podcast,
hard
like
to do
300
too,
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were
And
like,
there's that
whoop, I
shot
just
at
put that right behind me.
it's right. If there's a lot of pictures of me with no arm, it's like armless.
Or your
But
wife coming rolling through going, I'll just take that
I'll
for
just
you.
take that for this
Yeah.
photo op. Yeah,
Yes.
there's that funny picture. I forget who it was. That was it John. I forget. They got a shot. There was a shot of me at the last provincial election, and I walking past a camera, and I was at I guess it was a conservative party after party, and it's a shot of me holding a glass of wine, and somebody screenshot it and tweeted it, saying, "Ah, got ya."
Yeah. Funny.
So,
Funny. You do
uh,
love the party.
well, yeah, the parties. Anyway, don't. So
Yeah,
that's. I mean, the
I do
case is.
too. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. And her other point, Kylie's other point was,
Oh,
police have the discretion to, drinking and driving is not specific to the mayor, but to anybody. You can send you home. They can give you a 24-hour suspension. They can take you to
yeah,
Canadian. They can give you a drinking and
yeah,
driving. They have a lot of discretion.
yeah.
And so who knows if even if it was true that the mayor was pulled over and that the police did let him off, it might have been just because of the normal standard and operating procedures that the police follow. So
Might have been.
nothing to see here,
Right.
So Ken's just making it bigger now than it should be. He should have just
It
said,
feels like infighting. It feels like more of that. It feels
yeah,
like I'm going to blame somebody else for why my approval numbers have tanked so low. It must be this guy's fault.
yeah, yeah, totally.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, it's all.
it's 11 a.m. It's 30 minutes into Unspun podcast. It is time to go. So follow along on your social media with George
Underscore.
Affleck. George_Affleck on Twitter, George Affleck everywhere else. I'm at Jody-Vance, Jody with a Y on all of the social medias. Like and subscribe, comment here if you like, share it with your friends. Unspunpodcast.com. Unspun podcast happens every Thursday, and we try and cover the news of the day affecting us here in specifically the south coast of British Columbia. Always lots of news falls off the edge of the table, but hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll meet you right here next week.
Bye.